We are following breaking news tonight. The federal government will intervene to try to end the railway lockout. The very latest coming up in just moments.
And in the meantime, thousands of GO Transit users on the Milton line, they're trying to find a different way to get home tonight after train service was canceled due to the lockout.
And York Regional Police say the burned remains of a body found last week have now been identified as a realtor from Markham who was reported missing almost 2 weeks ago.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Parry Sound.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. We begin tonight with breaking news on the railway lockout. Federal Labor Minister Steve McKinnon announcing just minutes ago that his government is intervening in the dispute that's shut down Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City.
Under Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code, I've directed the Canada Industrial Relations Board to assist the parties in settling the outstanding terms of their collective agreements by imposing final binding arbitration. I have also directed the board to extend the term of the current collective agreements until new agreements have been signed and for operations on both railways to resume forthwith.
CN and Canadian Pacific Kansas City trains, they were halted across the country at midnight after the rail companies and workers failed to reach a new contract. It marks the first simultaneous work stoppage of the two railway giants and is raising concerns about the impact on national supply chains.
Okay, let's get to some reaction and some analysis here. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, he showed his support for the locked out railway workers today at a CN facility in Montreal. He's been talking about this, and this is important to note. He promised the workers that he would fight against what he described as interference from the federal government in this dispute. Singh says that includes opposing forced arbitration and back to work legislation.
We said at the very beginning when we forced the Liberals to move forward on things like dental care, when I forced Justin Trudeau to move forward on pharmacare, we said if you ever think that you could bring in back to work legislation and call it a confidence vote, we will vote against that every single time. We made it very clear.
Well, the lockout is impacting commuters who use the Milton GO line and the Hamilton GO Center station because trains need to use Canadian Pacific Kansas City tracks. Okay, so CP24's Lindsay Biscaya joins us live from Clarkson GO Station with more. Lindsay, yesterday you were at a different GO station. Let's, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I mean, Bakari and Lena, a lot of people here today are not here because they usually actually stop at this station and take this line. They're here because, as you said, the Milton line is now closed. Metrolinx closed it last night. They announced it pretty late last night, actually, as a result of this strike, as you mentioned off the top there. So a lot of people now have chosen to drive here or to Port Credit, park their cars here, and then take this line down into the downtown core to get to and from where they're going. And we've been speaking with people who are getting off the trains today who say, yeah, they usually do take the Milton line, but they had to add quite a bit of time, some of them, to their commute because of this closure. Have a listen.
It's about 15 minutes, and then this train is always more packed, so we don't really get a seat.
When did you learn that it was closed?
I kind of knew it would happen last night, and then this morning, bright and early, I found out.
So not too much of an inconvenience?
No, not really. It happens.
Another man we spoke with who didn't want to be on camera said that he didn't even find out until this morning. He drove to the usual station that he would actually go to take the Milton line and then realized that it was closed. So you can imagine how much that adds onto your commute in the GTA during rush hour when you're trying to take a detour now and get to work on time. Obviously, he was very late for work, feeling a little bit frustrated today. Another woman we spoke with who is usually here at Clarkson said that usually it's easy to find parking here, but today it was really hard for her to find parking because there's so many people who don't usually take this line who are here. You can probably see the line of cars behind me as well, looking to get out of Clarkson. So definitely an inconvenience for a lot of people. Lena and Bakari adding yet another headache onto their commute. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay Biscaya reporting live on the impact. Thanks so much for this, Lindsay. Turning to another story we're following closely. Police say burned remains found in Parry Sound are those of Markham real estate agent Anita Moy. She went missing 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with the latest developments in this investigation. Steve, you know, clearly this is not an ending that anyone was hoping for. Who are police sort of looking to right now as suspects?
Well, they have no suspects as of right now, none that they're telling us about anyways, Bakari. But there are 3 young offenders under arrest right now for allegedly using the deceased woman's credit card. So they have been arrested and charged with a series of fraud offenses and a firearms offense as well. You'll learn more about that once we play a clip from the detective sergeant in charge of this investigation. But let's talk about when this investigation started. And it started back on August the 9th. 11 o'clock in the morning was the last time that this 56-year-old real estate agent had contact with her family. That was at 11 a.m. Her vehicle was subsequently located in Scarborough near Finch and Ward, and later on August the 9th, and that was the last time she was heard from. Her family said that was out of character for her, so York Regional Police deemed her disappearance to be suspicious. On Monday, August the 12th, York Regional Police were up here in Stouffville off of Vandorf Side Road investigating this unoccupied house behind me here. The forensics team was at this location examining inside of this house, and on the 13th of August, York Regional Police had a press conference out front of this address where I'm standing right now, and they said that they believed that the 56-year-old woman was up here at some point on Friday, August the 9th, and this is why they were investigating this scene, and they conducted an extensive ground search, aerial search, and a dive team was in the pond behind me here as well as they looked for her. Now, unbeknownst to York Regional Police, on Monday, August the 12th, found remains were located up in Parry Sound, burnt remains, and police got word, York Regional Police got word just the other day that those remains were in fact those of the 56-year-old woman. So this is now officially a homicide investigation, and police are actively trying to look for these suspects. They have, however, said that these 3 young offenders who are under arrest are persons of interest when it comes to the homicide investigation. At a press conference today, we heard from York's chief of police that he provides a description, very specific description of a vehicle of interest that they're looking for. And we heard from the detective sergeant who spoke about the charges that these 3 young offenders are facing. Here's more from the 2 of them.
Our investigators are looking for any witnesses, dash cam or CCTV video of a vehicle of interest in this crime, a white 2019 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter cargo van. We believe Miss Moy was transported in this vehicle and are asking anyone who may have seen it in the area of 3821 Vandorf Side Road in the town of Whitchurch-Stouffville, on or in the area of Avro Arrow Road and Highway 400 in Parry Sound between August 9th and August 12th to please contact our investigators.
York Regional Police Homicide Unit have arrested and charged 3 young offenders. One of the young offender has been charged with 3 counts of fraud. Another young offender has been charged with 1 count of fraud and multiple breach of court orders. And a third young offender has been charged with multiple counts of fraud, firearm-related offenses. All 3 young offenders are persons of interest in this homicide investigation, but their exact involvement as to what they did or what they had to do with this investigation and with the disappearance of Ms. Moy is being investigated.
Police confirmed today as well that the forensic evidence inside of this unoccupied home confirmed that Ms. Moy was at this location. 2 big questions now, guys. Number 1, how did Ms. Moy get up here to Stouffville when her vehicle was found in Scarborough at Finch and Warden? And secondly, how did these 3 young people come into possession of her credit cards? Send it back to the desk.
Yeah, those are 2 very big questions, along with so many others right now. Steve Ryan reporting live tonight. Steve, thanks so much for your coverage of this disturbing case. Also making news, the RCMP, they are on high alert after multiple institutions across the country received new bomb threats today.
Yeah, the Mounties say that bomb threats were sent to several places, including synagogues, museums, shopping malls, and ports. The RCMP believe the same suspect responsible for yesterday's threats against Jewish organizations is behind today's bomb threat. Well, the RCMP, they also say that they're working closely with domestic and international partners to identify the suspected individual and disrupt their activities.
In the GTA, York Regional Police confirming they received reports of another mass email threatening businesses in the region. Police say this threat is not indicated or targeted at any religious institute, and it was sent by the same email address and contained the same messaging as yesterday's threatening email.
Well, yesterday, more than 100 synagogues, Jewish organizations, and hospitals received the same threatening email. It comes as hate crimes are on the rise in our city. Toronto Police Chief Myron Dimke stopped by CP24 to talk about how the city's force is working to tackle these incidents.
I think what's important to recognize is just how integrated our response is together collectively in the policing sector across this country. So we responded physically in our geographic area of responsibility, but our efforts were also integrated with our partners, including the Ontario Provincial Police and the RCMP, so that we can share what we're learning locally and understand what's happening across the country when these types of events happen.
Well, the latest data from Toronto Police shows that nearly 200 alleged hate crimes, they have been reported so far this year, nearly half of them anti-Semitic.
Well, Peel police are appealing for witnesses after a child was allegedly sexually assaulted at a Brampton hospital.
Yeah, 31-year-old Brandon Remnath is facing several charges, including sexual assault and sexual interference. Investigators say a 3-year-old was touched while sitting in a stroller inside the hospital near Bramalea and Beauvais last Sunday. Remnath is also charged with committing an indecent act in another area of the hospital a short time later. So anyone with information, you are asked to contact police or just call Crime Stoppers.
It's now 5:11, 23 degrees, feeling more like 26 out there. Let's get a check on the evening commute with our traffic specialist, Adjoa Nsiaya. I'm going to take a guess here. I think it's a slow drive. Would I be right?
You're psychic again.
I know.
Yes, you know, it's every day. We're just using our psychic energy to make people feel a little bit tortured out there on the major routes. Now, adding to the slow drive, which is typical at this time of day, we are dealing with a few problems. So happening on the eastbound 407, it's on the ramp that does take you to the northbound 410. I'll find the left lane of this ramp blocked with a collision. One vehicle involved ended up rolling into the ditch. So this one's going to be there for some time before they can get this vehicle out of that ditch. Also, pretty busy on the eastbound lanes of the 401. Just as you make your way past Keele, it is the left lane and shoulder blocked up following this collision. Delays from Renforth and slowdowns continue on the DVP north from Don Mills up to the 401. On city streets in Scarborough, crews on scene of a collision on Finch at Kennedy. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
It's 5:12, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up after the break, CUPE is firing back at Premier Doug Ford over comments he made about Fred Hahn after he posted a controversial video on social media. We'll have the latest next.
CUPE is making it clear that it is not siding with Premier Ford in light of the Fred Hahn scandal.
Yeah, the union's national board voted to ask Hahn to resign. This after he shared a video on social media showing an Israeli Olympic diver turning into a bomb and falling on civilians in Gaza. The premier weighed in yesterday. This is what he said.
This guy's been a bully for 20 years. And do you know what's funny? I'm getting messages on my phone from CUPE members saying his comments have been disgusting. In my opinion, he's a disgusting human being anyways, but that's here nor there. You know, he says he's bigoted comments. It's unacceptable here in Ontario. We have 110 nationalities speaking 200 languages, and we all need to get together. And I encourage CUPE Canada, someone has to discipline this guy, and I encourage the workers next time a vote comes, vote this character out, because in my opinion, he's just a terrible, terrible human being.
Well, CUPE shot back at Ford with a statement that reads in part, quote, "We do not take advice from a union-hating, public service gutting premier trying to distract from his own scandals and track record. Doug Ford and his ministers can concentrate on reopening the rural ERs they've closed, funding the public schools they continue to neglect, addressing their Greenbelt scandal, and reversing their decision to give public land in Toronto to a private mega spot no one wants."
CUPE says it asked for Hahn's resignation because the video he posted was deeply problematic and not due to the premier's bullying. It added that the decision does not take away from Hahn's lifelong commitment to union members.
Okay, well, Air Canada pilots, they've handed their union a strike mandate. that could see them walk off the job next month.
The Airline Pilots Association says 98% of its members voted in favor of a strike. The union has been negotiating with the airline since June of last year, with the talks being overseen by a conciliator. That process is set to wrap up on Monday and will be followed by a 21-day cooling off period. That means the pilots could hit the picket lines as soon as September 17th.
Right now it's 5:16, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, no-name stores coming up. We'll tell you where Loblaw is testing a new ultra-discount grocery store based on its popular brand. Welcome back. Stats Canada says the first annual rise in new homes prices in more than a year was recorded last month, but the increase was incredibly small. The agency says the cost of a new home in the country inched up just 0.1% in July compared to a year earlier. However, that was still the first increase since March of 2023. Prices in July climbed 0.2% over the previous month. New home prices in Ontario were flat on a month-over-month basis, but fell 1.3% overall year over year.
Well, a new survey reveals that despite affordability challenges, many young Ontarians, they have their sights set on home ownership. 82% of those born between 1986 and 2006 believe that home ownership is a worthwhile investment. This is according to Royal LePage's 2024 demographic survey, Next Generation Buyers. 3/4 of those surveyed who do not currently own a home say that purchasing a property is a priority, but only 47% believe that's an achievable goal.
When we look at Generation Z in particular, they are children of the pandemic. So they watched interest rates plummet to zero at the same time as the cost of homes skyrocketed to unheard of heights. And the good news is, for the last couple of years, home prices have stalled. And even though borrowing was high, it is coming down. And people are aware of that.
Well, 6 in 10 people surveyed also say owning a home provides stability, while half say renting is restrictive due to tenant-landlord policies.
Well, Loblaw is testing a new ultra-discount grocery store based on its no-name brand. The first 3 stores in this pilot project will open next month in Windsor, St. Catharines, and Brockville. The stores will feature a significantly pared-down product selection with no refrigerated foods like dairy or fresh meat. Loblaw says the stores will have prices up to 20% lower than nearby discount competitors, including its own no-frill stores. Retail analyst Bruce Winders says he thinks this is a good move.
There is a lot of people out there living at the margin who can't afford groceries. And to what this shows me that Loblaw did some research, listened to their customers, and is the first grocer to have an offering that matches what these people need.
And the company says if it works, the pilot will be accelerated. If it doesn't, it'll pivot and learn from the experience.
Right now it's 5:21, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The Toronto International Film Festival kicks off 2 weeks from today. Coming up, more on the Canadian content at this year's TIFF. Stay with us.
Fan Expo is underway at the Metro Toronto Convention Center.
The 4-day festival is the largest comics, sci-fi, horror, anime, and gaming event in the country, and the 3rd largest pop culture event in North America. It started as a small comic book convention with about 1,500 fans and has grown into a major attraction, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors. Our Jian Lee was there before the doors opened, and she talked to a couple of stars who will be mingling with fans this weekend. Take a listen.
Toronto to me is New York with a lot of nice people. You know what I mean? It's wonderfully diverse culturally, but with just a lot of nice people that grew up around families. And if I could paint a broad stroke, Canadians are family oriented and they're wonderful people. All the guys I know, Gretzky and the whole gang, yes, right on down. At their core, they're just really good people. And that's why I love coming to Canada.
And with that, Fan Expo is open tonight until 9, tomorrow and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., then Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Well, the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival kicks off 2 weeks from today. It's almost time.
Gordon Green's Nutcracker, starring Ben Stiller, it's been selected for the opening gala. The festival will close with Rebel Wilson's directorial debut, The Dead. So in total, nearly 280 films will be presented this year, including 59 Canadian movies. That's 9 more than last year. We got a preview of the festival's Canadian content today.
we will have the world premiere of Taken Care of Business, which is by director Tyler Measom. It'll have its world premiere as a gala here at TIFF. It's not a Canadian-produced film, but it honestly could not be more Canadian. It is about the life and the career and the ups and downs of Randy Bachman, the Canadian rock legend, how he became a pop star in the Guess Who, a rock star in Bachman Turner Overdrive, married a Mormon, fell in love with a Gretsch guitar, had his heart broken when he lost it, and found it again in Tokyo after many years, just as he was recovering from cancer. It's drama.
This year in particular, we're also seeing amazing films from right across the country. You know, some years I think that, we're perhaps seeing more films, let's say from Quebec, Ontario, but we're really seeing incredible voices really coming up from across the country with unique perspectives. So there's a real sense of an emerging of Canadian cinema in a way that we really do see a future.
And Tamara Dawit produced a short film, Al-Azhar, which is screening at TIFF, by the way. She talked about the challenge of telling a story in a short film format. Here's part of that conversation.
I think what you do is you really work through on the script to make sure that you've really made a story that's digestible, and also where audiences feel that there's a resolution at the end, that something has happened, there's been a change and growth for the characters. Because really you want people to come in, learn something, and have something to take away and discuss.
And Jose Lourenco wrote and directed the movie Young Werther, which is making its debut at this year's festival. It's already sold out.
You write the script several years before you make the movie, and then you have all these collaborators who come in, the actors who have their own insights into the characters, who are, interpreting your words in ways that you maybe didn't see coming, but that are ultimately better. You have an editor who'll come in and help you reshape the story. You have your cinematographer is going to change the way that you're visualizing the scenes. You have producers and stakeholders who will then look at the cuts and have their own opinions about the narrative flow. And you go from it being your baby as a writer to a whole village raising this child.
And TIFF runs from September 5th to the 15th. Always a good time in the city.
It's 5:28, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, burned remains of a body found last week have now been identified as a realtor from Markham who was reported missing almost 2 weeks ago. But the investigation continues. We're leaving you with a live shot at the scene. Stay with us as our coverage continues.
York Regional Police say that the burned remains of a body found last week, they've been identified as a realtor from Markham who was reported missing almost 2 weeks ago.
Well, we are following breaking news this hour. The federal government will intervene to try to end the railway lockout. We'll have reaction.
And in the meantime, thousands of GO Transit users on the Milton line, they're finding a different way to get home tonight after train service was canceled due to the lockout.
And the Democratic National Convention will wrap up in Chicago tonight with Kamala Harris formally accepting the historic nomination for president. We'll talk to Democrats abroad, Toronto, coming up.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Latafaz.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Police say that burned remains found in Parry Sound are those of Markham real estate agent Anita Moy, who went missing 2 weeks ago.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with the latest developments in this investigation. Steve, this is a story you have been following right from the very beginning. Police have identified persons of interest, no suspects as of yet.
Yeah, that's right, Lena. No suspects right now, but police do have 3 young offenders in custody, 2 16-year-olds and a 17-year-old. They're charged with a series of fraud offenses and a firearms offense. The police allege that these 3 young people used this deceased woman's credit cards, and this is why they are now arrested and charged with a variety of criminal offenses. Nothing to do with murder or indignity to a dead body. As we've been reporting, the remains of a woman were located up in Parry Sound on August the 12th, and the York Regional Police got confirmation just the other day that those remains were those of the 56-year-old real estate agent that went missing here in the GTA on August the 9th. So they're still looking for the suspects, and these three young people are certainly persons of interest, but they certainly aren't suspects when it comes to the homicide or indignity to a dead body.
Okay, so Steve, let's try to connect the dots here because investigators are trying to, put the pieces together. Moy's car was found somewhere else from where her remains were. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's right, Bakari. The woman's vehicle was located in Scarborough on August the 9th near Warden and Finch. That is south of where she lived, and that was in Markham. So this address that we are at right now on Vandorf Side Road in Stouffville is a big piece of information for the police. They were here on the 12th. At the same time, unbeknownst to them, that remains were found up in Parry Sound. But during a press conference on the 13th, on the Tuesday, York Regional Police told us at this time that they believe that the deceased woman was at this unoccupied house, this location here on Vandorf Road, on the Friday that she went missing. So they also said today that forensic evidence inside of this unoccupied house put Miss Moy at this location as well. So they know that she was here on the 9th. So between the 9th and the 12th, she was transported up to Parry Sound where her remains were discarded on the side of a road. And this is why now they're actively looking for suspects.
Yeah, and Steve, the motive, obviously, such a big question right now. We just don't know what it could be. How long do you think it could be before police and homicide detectives have some answers on that front?
Yeah, they may have some idea right now, and I say that because police believe that this 56-year-old woman was targeted, and they would not say why she was targeted, but they do believe that she was targeted. So a targeted homicide typically has some sort of motive behind it, but it is important to note that you don't need a motive to charge or convict for a homicide. But given the fact that they say she was targeted, and they are saying that this has nothing to do with another real estate agent that went missing up in this area as well about a year ago, they're separate occurrences, but they do believe that this 56-year-old woman was targeted, and that is why she was murdered.
Hey, Steve, can you talk about what it's like for investigators to, have a conclusion like this? And I don't want to say conclusion because this is really just more, or rather another step along the investigation to find out who did this, right?
Yeah, Bakari, it's heartbreaking as an investigator. In fact, it was one of the reasons why I left homicide, is when you're looking for a person actively, 9 out of 10 times when they're missing suspiciously, they wind up being murdered. And this is what's happened in this case. So you always have a positive perspective when you're trying to find somebody, but the longer time goes on, the more concerned you become for their safety. And this outcome is one that I'm not surprised with, because oftentimes when somebody disappears suspiciously, it certainly winds up like this, unfortunately.
Yeah, heartbreaking outcome for the family who have been waiting for answers for so long. Steve Ryan, live in Aurora tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this.
Okay.
We have breaking news on the railway lockout. Federal Labor Minister Steve McKinnon announcing that the government is intervening in the dispute that has shut down Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City.
Yeah, McKinnon telling the Canada Industrial Relations Board to impose final binding arbitration today. He's also directing the board to order the railways to resume operations under the terms of the current collective agreements until new deals are in place. We received an update in the last hour. Here's the latest from that.
It is the government's responsibility to ensure industrial peace in this critically vital sector. Thus, we will be examining why we experience repeated conflicts in the railway sector and the conditions that led to the parallel work stoppages we are seeing. Canadians must be assured that their government will not allow them to suffer when parties do not fill their responsibility to them at the bargaining table, especially where worker and community safety is at stake.
Well, CN and Canadian Pacific Kansas City trains were halted across the country after the rail companies and workers failed to reach new contracts. It marks the first simultaneous work stoppage of the two railway giants and is raising concerns about the impact on national supply chains.
Now, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh showed his support for the locked out railway workers today at a CN facility in Montreal. He promised the workers he would fight against what he described as interference from the federal government in the dispute. Singh says that includes opposing forced arbitration and back to work legislation.
They know we will not support any interference, not just back to work legislation, but any interference. If it comes to Parliament, we will be voting against it. We will oppose it. We will make it very clear. We're the only ones, the only party that will always stand in solidarity with working people. You know who's on your side when you're in a fight. New Democrats will always be on the side of workers. Pierre Poilievre will never be seen on a picket line. Justin Trudeau will never be seen on a picket line. We're here because we care.
And the lockouts impacting commuters who use the Milton GO line and the Hamilton GO Center station because trains need to use Canadian Pacific Kansas City tracks.
Yeah, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya joins us live from Clarkson GO Station with the latest. This is having an incredible impact on the commute, Lindsay.
Yeah, Lena and Bakari, and we're just hearing now this statement just coming in from Metrolinx, learning that this impact will continue tomorrow as well. So today, the Milton line and Hamilton GO Station have both been closed, and Metrolinx says that that will continue tomorrow as well. So that's confirmed now. No service on the Milton line for Friday either, and that is because of this ongoing labor dispute. Metrolinx saying it understands that the federal government is now stepping in of sorts, but until there's more information, it says this closure will continue. So that's really the update that we're hearing this hour. But we have been speaking with people who have actually been coming here to Clarkson because that Milton line is closed, saying that it's really actually added to their commute times. Have a listen.
I heard it last night before I went to bed.
Okay, so you were able to plan ahead.
Yeah, I was prepared for it.
How much more time did it add to your commute?
Well, it's more. I had to drive at least half an hour more to reach to the destination. Otherwise, Arundel was just 10 minutes from my home.
Kind of frustrating?
Yeah, but it is what it is, right? You can't help it.
So some people saying that it is what it is and, just having a really good attitude about it. We spoke with another man who didn't want to appear on camera, who said that this really took him by surprise this morning when he tried to go to his usual station and realized that he could not get on the Milton line, then had to do such a big detour to get here to take this line downtown to Toronto. And a lot of people really feeling that headache this morning, I'm sure, during rush hour. One more thing I do want to point out, Lena and Bakari, is here at Clarkson, you might be able to see all the cars behind me. Another woman who usually comes to the station says she's never seen so many cars parked here, and obviously that's because more people are coming here to use an alternate route, and it's causing some congestion for people who are trying to just go home at the end of their day. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya live at the Clarkson GO Station. Right now it's 5:40, feeling like 26 outside. Let's get a check on the commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjoa Ntia. Any relief out there, Adj?
Not so much. Still very busy, guys, on most of the major area highways, and still watching a couple of problems. We'll start with these issues I've been watching for a bit on the southbound lanes of the 404 on the approach to Finch. Find the right lane and shoulder blocked up following a collision. Then once you hop onto the 401, eastbound in particular not moving. 427 to pass Keel in the Express. Because of a collision that does have the left lane and shoulder blocked, and even more problems on the 427, this time southbound. It's just at Holiday Drive or just approaching Burnhamthorpe in the Collectors. Heads up for this collision. It does have the left lane out. Getting word of some brand new problems, a collision on Pharmacy near Bryan. I'll send it back to you.
Adjoa, thanks so much. It's 5:40, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Air Canada pilots say that they voted overwhelmingly to approve a strike mandate, putting them in a position to walk off the job as early as next month.
Welcome back. The RCMP are on high alert after multiple institutions across the country received new bomb threats today. The Mounties say bomb threats were sent to several places, including synagogues, museums, shopping malls, and ports. The RCMP believe the same suspect responsible for yesterday's threats against Jewish organizations is behind today's bomb threats. The RCMP also say they're working closely with domestic and international partners to identify the suspected individual and disrupt their activities.
In the GTA, York Regional Police confirmed that they received reports of another mass email threatening businesses in the region. So police say that this threat is not targeted at any religious institutes, and it was sent by the same email address and contained the same messaging as yesterday's threatening email. Well, yesterday, more than 100 synagogues, Jewish organizations, and hospitals received the same threatening email. It comes as hate crimes are on the rise in our city. Well, Toronto Police Chief Myron Dimke stopped by CP24 to talk about the city's force and how they're working to tackle these incidents.
We're a big organization, but we're not an organization that has resources to meet our growing demand. So we very strategically pivot and move our people around to meet the most emergent issues, and that's what we're doing. We're moving people as we need to operationally to meet the growing issues as they come up, and do everything we can to address things and keep Torontonians as safe and secure as possible.
Well, the latest data from Toronto Police, it shows that nearly 200 alleged hate crimes have been reported so far this year, nearly half of them anti-Semitic.
And the RCMP say one person from the GTA is facing terror charges for allegedly participating in the activities of a listed terrorist group. It is alleged the suspect was also counseling another person to commit a terrorism offense. The Maddies say they cannot be identified because it happened. The alleged offenses happened when the suspect was a youth. No other details about the case have been released, but the RCMP say there is no risk to public safety at this time.
Well, CUPE is making it clear that it is not siding with Premier Ford in light of the Fred Hahn scandal. The union's national board voted to ask Hahn to resign after he shared a video on social media showing an Israeli Olympic diver turning into a bomb and falling on civilians in Gaza. The premier weighed in yesterday.
This guy's been a bully for 20 years. And you know what's funny? I'm getting messages on my phone from CUPE members saying his comments have been disgusting. In my opinion, he's a disgusting human being anyways, but that's here nor there. You know, he says he's bigoted comments. It's unacceptable here in Ontario. We have 110 nationalities speaking 200 languages, and we all need to get together. And I encourage CUPE Canada, someone has to discipline this guy, and I encourage the workers next time a vote comes, vote this character out. Because in my opinion, he's just a terrible, terrible human being.
CUPE shot back at Ford with a statement, and that reads in part, "We do not take advice from a union-hating, public service-gutting premier trying to distract from his own scandals and track record." Doug Ford and his ministers can concentrate on reopening the rural ERs they've closed, funding the public schools they continue to neglect, addressing their Greenbelt scandal, and reversing their decision to give public land in Toronto to a private mega spa no one wants. Now, CUPE says it asked for Hahn's resignation because the video he posted, they say, was deeply problematic and not due to the premier's bullying. It also adds that the decision does not take away from Hahn's lifelong commitment to union members.
Well, Air Canada pilots have handed their union a strike mandate that could see them walk off the job next month. The Airline Pilots Association says 98% of its members voted in favor of a strike. The union has been negotiating with the airline since June of last year, with the talks being overseen by a conciliator. That process is set to wrap up Monday. It'll be followed by a 21-day cooling off period. That means that the pilots could hit the picket lines as soon as September 17th.
It's 5:47, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Okay, here's a live look at the United Center in Chicago. Kamala Harris will take center stage tonight at the final night of the Democratic National Convention. We're going to talk to Democrats abroad Toronto next. The Democratic National Convention will wrap up in Chicago tonight. Here's a live look at the United Center.
Yeah, this is a live shot from inside. So after days of the party's most prominent figures rallying the crowd, Kamala Harris will formally accept the historic nomination for president. Harris is expected to outline her vision and policy agenda in tonight's speech. The theme of the final night is for our future. I think we have a live shot of what's happening outside the United Center as well, if we can get to that. There are some protesters outside. These are people who have been outside for days now. They've been calling for a ceasefire. Just a few days ago, some demonstrators were arrested as well. So a very different scene outside the United Center tonight and really all week long. You can see a number of them out there with their signs asking for Democrats to listen to what they have to say. Now, for more on what is happening here at home, we're joined live by Julia Buchanan, treasurer of the Democrats Abroad Toronto chapter. Julia, thanks so much for joining us. Let's begin with your take on the DNC in Chicago this week. I mean, so much has happened. We've heard from so many big names, some political giants, big names like Oprah. What do you make of what's happening and this growing momentum?
Another one which is toy. So everybody's so joyful. Everybody's happy to come here tonight to meet us in the pub at the Madison. We're going to have signs just like they do in the convention hall. We fight, we win. We vote, we win.
And along with
It's
that,
been an incredible convention.
And along with that, Julia, what other details can you tell us about the watch party? Like, what time's it going to be? Do people have to sign up? Can they just drop by?
Well, I'm here now, so come by. Televised portion starts at 7, but yeah, we're here now, so anybody can come. There's plenty of room here at the Mattis.
Right.
And we welcome everybody.
It's important.
I know there's a lot of Canadians that like American politics, so everybody can come.
Okay, not just expats. Okay, good to know. You know, Julia, that it could be a real fight at the ballot box in just a little bit. And with Trump's unexpected win in 2016, we know Democrats are not taking this newfound excitement for granted. How then do you galvanize expats to get out the vote?
Membership here in Toronto, Democrats abroad. And like, for instance, Sunday we are going to be at Kensington Market. We have we find Americans on the street and get them registered to vote. We phone bank all around the world. We're a global organization, so there's a lot of phone banking going on right now, and we act just like any other political party. Actually, we're treated like a state party of the DNC. We have 27 delegates there tonight.
Okay, and along with that, you mentioned having 26 delegates there. You're from the state of Alabama. Let's talk about that. I mean, that is typically a red state. What are your thoughts on, being a Democrat in Canada and looking at this as
I tell you, it's a lot easier to be a Democrat here than to be back home. There's a lot more like-minded Americans here. That's for sure. I've been here a long time, though, 20 years.
Okay, Julia Buchanan, treasurer of the Democrats Abroad Toronto chapter. Have so much fun watching tonight, and thanks for your time. We appreciate this.
Thanks, Julia.
And voters should go to votefromabroad.org to register to vote and request your ballot.
Okay. Thanks, Julia. It is now 5:54, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the CNE has unveiled its first ever class of inductees for the Food Hall of Fame. We're going to tell you which foods made the cut. That's after the break.
Welcome back. Chad Kelly will return to the Argos lineup tonight following his suspension for violating the CFL's gender-based violence policy.
Yeah, Kelly was reinstated by the league Sunday after it forced him to sit out 9 regular season games. The quarterback was suspended in May after a former strength and conditioning coach filed a lawsuit against him alleging sexual harassment. And it's been settled, and Kelly also had to undergo counseling. He's set to get the start this evening when Toronto hosts Saskatchewan.
Well, the CNE unveiled the inaugural inductees for its Food Hall of Fame today. This is new.
Yeah, the class of 2024 includes Tiny Tom Donuts, the ice cream waffle sandwich. That's a favorite of our producer, Jyoti. Pickle pizza, primo spaghetti, and deep fried butter.
She likes the deep fried butter, too. She's talking about this
she hasn't tried it yet. She wants to try it. Like, I want to try it. I don't know why we don't have samples yet.
We all need to try it.
The X also announced deep fried butter will be returning for the remainder of the fair. And the CNE says that the Food Hall of Fame, it's meant to honor some of the most iconic and creative eats that have shaped its culinary reputation.
We hope that this exercise, the Hall of Fame, the Food Hall of Fame, will become an aspirational goal, motivating our vendors to come up with more and more unique and savory treats as we move along through the years.
It is fun. It's nice to be recognized. We've been part of this building for 64 years, so to be recognized as a big part of that means a lot to us, for sure.
I think that it's such a special relationship, and we are honored that we are here year in and year out, and we really, really, as a family, enjoy being a part of the CNE.
And the CNE Food Hall of Fame is being introduced to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the fair's food building, my favorite spot.
It's 5:59, 23 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
We are live at Clarkson GO Station tonight. Metrolinx announcing service on the Milton line will be canceled tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.